in spelling out what Hey Teves means to us, what it should mean to us, what it meant to the Rebbe, that this Derech Hamunah here, so he had it printed. I read it, we bought it, I read it. There's, you know, if you compare that with Derech Mitzvah, for example, there's no comparison. Derech Hamunah. So the responsibility, it's not someone else. It's the Rebbe said, I am responsible. I don't know, whatever it is. So here, this is a Meiser, which is the real Meiser. Not about checks of $140,000 made out to Michael somebody in Switzerland. It's not, you know, it's of course when you mention $140,000, you know, it's got a glamour of its own. Aber nicht das redt mir Hey Teves.
Rabbi
And
Vogel,
therefore, yes.
Rabbi Vogel, not the checks. It's when to hear you say how you felt at the time when listening to the Rebbe and you'd based Tammuz Mem Hey, that's a very real thing to hear. But what we would love to continue to hear, not exclusively, is what was the Rebbe's responses or any interaction that you had with Maskiris when you were purchasing or receiving these books? This is not checks.
Okay.
This is
okay. I'll take your point. So, by the way, who am I speaking to?
My name is Shaul Wilhelm. I'm in Oslo.
Oh, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom
Aleichem Shalom, Rabbi Vogel.
Right. Okay. The story is like this. As these books were coming, it was Jack Lunzer, basically. Jack Lunzer had an acquaintance, more than acquaintance. He was called Michael, forgot, in Switzerland. And he had a collection of Haggadahs, supposed to be the most wide collection, important collection of Haggadahs in the world. And he had purchased a book, Haggadah. The Haggadah from, what's that Hungarian town called? Shaul, do you know, remember the name? Whatever, you'll come to me in a second. So there was a Haggadah printed in that Hungarian town, and it was, I think, on vellum, on parchment. Kitsia, yeah. It was a Kitsia.
The Kutsi Haggadah.
Huh?
The Kutsi Haggadah, I think it's called.
Kutsi or Kitsi?
I think it's Kutsi. Whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, that was a Haggadah printed, and this Michael had it. So I found out that through Jack, I found out that he has this Haggadah. So I phoned him up, and I didn't know him personally, but I said, I believe you have a Haggadah, and this we Rebbe would like to have back. He didn't like the way I spoke to him because I was a bit brusque. Not intentionally, I didn't know him. So he said, so he told me, yes, it's good. So how much is it? It's $140,000. So fine, I put the phone down, and then I phoned up Label Groner, and I told him this Kutsi Haggadah is in the hands Flersheim, Michael Flersheim, Oliver Shaw. And he had this Haggadah. And I said to him, it's 140,000. So then Rabbi Chodakov mixed in. I still remember it very vividly. I was sitting on my couch, and there's a phone call comes through, and he says, "Dort sprech hier sprecht." You know, half German. Half German. He sprecht Chodakov, and I'm sitting now with a checkbook on my table. And I have a pen in my right hand. And if you will tell me to write a check for 140,000 to this person, I will write it. I am now your shliach. So I was so overwhelmed. I said, Rabbi Chodikov, excuse me, I need to think about it. And I put the phone down. So I was free of that confrontation anyway. And 5 minutes later or less, I phoned him up. I said, yes, you should write the check. And he wrote the check for $140,000. And that went to Flersheim. And that book, Sefer Haggadah, was picked up by Rabbi Rosenfeld in Zurich.
Mendy Rosenfeld.
Mendy Rosenfeld, yeah. Mendy Rosenfeld in Zurich, yeah. So that's the story with the check. That Jack Lunzer on Friday afternoon, this is what I heard from his daughter. His daughter said, did he not tell you that on Friday afternoon when you came to the office to pick up those books, he sold a major parcel of diamonds which were lying for years? Did he not tell you about this tremendous miracle that happened? So I said, of course he didn't tell me. If he told me, I'd ask him for more money. So why should he tell me?
Didn't the Rebbe listen to the conversation?
But did you hear anything from the Rebbe about this? Did the Rebbe? Did you hear anything from the Rebbe? Was there any response from the Rebbe in your involvement in this?
There was. I wasn't looking for that involvement. I wasn't aware of that involvement, but there was once an involvement because when I was talking, I collected those number of books together and we're growing in number. They came to about 30, 34, and they took it back. So at the time when I had about 10 or 12, so I said to Rabbi Groner, what should I do with them? So he said, oh, I'll find out. So he talked to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said to him at that time, as he reported to me, Zogem, we darf warten, weil kriegen noch. He can wait because he'll get more. That was one of the responses from the Rebbe on the Seforim coming back.
Right.
So
that's interesting. That's interesting because the Seforim in Eretz Yisrael, the Rebbe said to keep in Eretz Yisrael.
Correct.
Yes. There were 104 Seforim in all, I think. That list of Seforim was given to me by Label Groner. It was 104 Seforim, the date, the name of the Sefer, the Machaber of the Sefer, the year or whatever it was, and how much they'd bought it for. And so I didn't, as I said before, there were 30. I said those were in Yisrael, yes, they went straight back to wherever they went. And there was I saying this, it's difficult. I must go with Shola. Let's say evaluate. You are of age this year's. I'm of age this year's. Mandy Itzinger is age of this year's, and children of these years, and so on. So everybody's coming in to this review from two things. First of all, a lack of knowledge, which we all have the lack of knowledge, but also each one is coming in with his own perspective. And all the perspectives are created, limited by understanding through the ages of the various individuals who are coming into this fabric. So it's not easy to measure your words speaking to a 10-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, and they've got different backgrounds. And many I don't know. I know a good number of this group because they're for English. So it's more important, I think, for those individuals around this Farbrengen table to focus on what they particularly are interested in and to explain it, deliver a moving captivating, if you wish, a talk which will move people from their present situation. Nochamaisa, at the very beginning of this, we were asking before about the beginnings, who gave responsibility. I said took responsibility because anybody who has some idea is automatically conscripted into the into service. We all understand this, and we all understand this. This is the way a chassid behaves. At the beginning, I was in conversation with Reb Heschel Gorman. Now, Reb Heschel Gorman, I presume he's not here, but he lives in London, and he has Seforim. He has a collection of Seforim himself, a very special collection. So he knew what was going on in the bookie. They used to call it the bookie world, the books. And he said to me that there's a collector of Seforim who's a Geder Chassid, and his name is, I think, Yankel Heitner, and is Malabos in Gold Screen. And I feel that he's got an interest.
His name is Yitzhak Heitner.
Yitzhak, okay, Yitzhak Heitner, thank you. And he has an interest, Anyway, so I phoned him, or he didn't want to speak to me. And I wrote him a letter or something. Anyway, the end of the story was that he did have Seforim, which came from that collection, which had been sold on the open market. And he had them. But he didn't want to communicate directly with me. But he would do it through Dayan Yossel Padwa. And Dayan Yossel Padwa is the son of the late Av Bezdin by Henoch Padwa. And he's a Rav. He lives in, I think, in Homely Road. And he said he will do it through him. So how do you arrange it? Because the Rebbe had said like this: anybody who wants to return the books, should, as we said before, give a receipt for the purchase of the book. Or if he did not have a receipt, then he should go to a Rav, and this Rav would give testimony that this individual applying to return the books, this Rav would say he's Nemon, he's a trusted person. So whatever money price he links to a certain sefer is acceptable. Okay. So I received from Dayan Padwa, I received one list, a second list, and each list had numbers for him and the amount of money that he had spent on this sefer. And at the end, Padwa would say, Nemon olai divrei Rabbi Yitzchak Heitner. Is Nemon olai, and therefore is acceptable. So that came with a signature from, the list came with a signature from from the dime padva. And against that, the money was returned. It weren't large sums of money, 400 pounds, 600 pounds, whatever they were. So I added up to total money, and then I gave the money. And it happened once or twice. And then Dime Badver said to me, by the way, I need a brocha from the Rebbe. Because I offered him, I said, is there any cost? You know, after all, you're doing a service, so do I have to pay you anything? So he said, no, you don't have to pay me anything, but I need a brocha for his daughter. His daughter was not unmarried at that time, and he needs a brocha. So I wrote back to the Rebbe, and I told the Rebbe what he had said, and he's a brocha, and he gave his name and his mother's name, got the name, his mother's name, and fine, okay, that was the brocha. 2 weeks later, Dan Padver phoned me up and said to me, the brocha is mekim geworden. The brocha was fulfilled. So everybody got what they needed, what they wanted. That was a time, by the way, I did recall, I don't know if you, in America, they know it, because in America, the Rebbe offered tremendous brochas to all people who came to him from wherever and wherever. And in France, not England, because there was a company called Trans World Airlines at that time, TWA. Okay, so TWA. So TWA had in their offices fax machines. I'm not sure whether younger people know what a fax machine is, but there is such a thing. It used to be such a thing. In the prehistoric days, a long time ago, there was a fax machine. Sometimes a NES, a modern NES. I got one. It cost £1,000. For £1,000 for a fax machine, it was a gilu. Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Say you write something in here, it goes to America. Push it nisim. So they had about a dozen or 2 dozen fax machines in the TWR office. So Rabbi Azimov, Sholem, he approached them and they said, can I use these fax machines? So sure, let's get this done. So he used, and there were hundreds and thousands of faxes being sent by the TWA fax machines to America for the brokers. And the Rebbe, when he went to the oil, he had not just one packet, but he had dozens and dozens of envelopes, large packed, stuffed envelopes, taking people broker. So the brokers, the opportunity to get a broker for everything and anything was it was like an open season. A remarkable thing. So that's why I say when Dan Padver asked me for the brocha, and he said brocha mekun geworden, you know, it was kamat certain it was going to be, because this was the currency. This was the currency. This was the currency which the Rebbe was using. Well, he still uses that currency. The Rebbe still uses that currency. That's the currency. No dollars, no bitcoins, no sterling, no francs, not even euros, nothing. This is the currency the Rebbe uses. You write to the Rebbe, give your name, your mother's name, and that is, he will give a brocha. Not by fax anymore, but by this oil, you type it out. That is the currency. He's giving the same brochas. If you don't believe me, try it.